All right, so we'll jump in, and here's our topics for today. We have, by some special requests, we now have, you can have an individual email and subject for each report. Creating multiple fab layouts. This is a feature that we announced a few weeks ago, but we'll just go over it. Same thing with named layouts. We've had those, but until you see it, it doesn't always make sense. So I'll go over those. Snap to angles and increased text height. Those are just some drawing features that you may be aware of, but we'll just go into how to set those. And then I'm calling it track most profitable zip codes, but that means our zip code and a couple other features, think customer name and maybe state, are now on that dashboard. And so we'll just go into how to use that in the dashboard. So first we will start with emails for each report. Now we have it so that if you're in the reports and you pull up, I think I use the compact install schedule. It used to be, well, we recently enabled the ability to format this email language. So if I click email, you can now have a subject for this, whatever report you're sending out, and then a specific body that you're including for your report. So the way to set that up is you go into administration, report configuration. And so in this case, we're looking at compact install schedule. And then we have this field called email body text. And if you click edit, one important piece is you need to make sure this rich text box is checked. That basically just means if you have any fancy, or if you have special formatting, and just make sure in some cases, for example, the email signature, you have to have a rich text for images to show up. But you can see I unclicked it and then I clicked it again. So now I need to move my subject back into the subject box and reformat this. And save. So then I think I had an example in this consigned slabs to pay for. If I edit this, in this case, I don't necessarily have a specific email subject, but I have a body of my email. Along these lines, and while we made these updates, this is a little bit different, but if you go into admin now, these emails, I think by default it used to say what a job proposal for 123 job and user XYZ. You can now put your own email subject. Maybe you are used to changing those anyway, but you can now have a default email subject for your estimates and invoices using this email box. So if are there any questions around the report emails? Again, you go to report configurations and now it's just another field, email body text. Okay, great. We'll go to the next one. And just for anyone the idea is, I'm hoping these webinars, I'm going to try to keep them quick so that it's just a quick touch. So if you have questions, let me know, but I'm going to just keep moving. So now we'll go to create multiple fab layouts. And this might be particularly helpful if you have a job that has a lot of slabs. So I'm going to click edit. In this case, I think in my example, I only have 2 slabs, but if this was a much bigger job, and I'm going to go into fabrication layouts. So in this case, you probably could have, if you have a cut sheet, you could probably put both of the slabs on one sheet. But if you wanted to, you can also click this button that's in the fabrication layout, and it's at the bottom of the middle blue section, and it says create multiple fab drawings. So if I do this, it's going to cycle through my slabs, and now I can calc and save and create drawing and run a report. In this case, we called it Fab Layout Multi. And what that does is now my cut sheet has 1 slab per page. And I guess it popped the total layout at the end, as opposed to what you're probably used to, which is fab layout with all the slabs on one page. And the way you set that up is in the report configuration. I'm going to go down to our fab layout multi, and there's a box that's called drawing to include. So that's, you could even set your estimates to include your fab layout. I don't think you'd want to do that, but you basically have the option to select a lot of different images, and you would click multi-fab. So the steps are obviously create your fab layout, click that create multi-fab button, and then make sure you have a report that has this multi-fab drawing included. As a note, we now have the ability to actually include DXF images in your reports. So I think we just added it this week, and we'll announce that later. But you can now, if you have reports where you want to include your DXF file, the image that you've pulled in, you can now do that in here as well. So if there's no questions, I'm going to go to the next feature, which is named layouts. So this is a feature if you have some sort of layout that you use often. So I don't know if you're working with maybe a commercial job, or maybe you just know there's some kitchen that your team knows well, and if the family's happy with that, that's great. So I just created a generic kitchen, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this kitchen. I'm going to click the 3 arrows in the taskbar, and I'm going to save as named layout. And I'm going to call this is ABC countertop, so I'm going to call this the ABC special. And I'm going to click OK. Oh, I tested that one earlier. We'll rename it. We'll name it the ABC Extra Special. I'm going to click OK. And now, if I do these arrows, I can see my named layouts here. So if I go into another job, we'll go into this apartment complex, I can now retrieve. I can hit those 3 arrows, and without creating a new area list, I'm going to click retrieve, name layout, and click the ABC Extra Special. And if I go into this area module, it basically pulls in the area from the other one. So, maybe they want a different color, but it'll pull in the color and layout and everything. So we call that name layout. And you're able to delete the named layouts here, although I think I had a little issue with this. But yeah, you should be able to delete these named layouts. Yeah. And so, you may not want a million of these, but yeah, you can delete them and save them. So that's what we called save name layouts. Okay, next, snap to angles. If you have been in the drawing module, you've most likely noticed this, but we now have the ability when you draw. So I did a left click, and I'm left clicking again, and you can snap to, in this case, you can see we're snapping to angles of 5. If I come down here and change this to 15, it'll change to 15. So it can be a little tricky, but in the middle of drawing, you can change this depth or change these angles. So, and now I'm going to left click again, left click, and right click. And the way to set that default, so this angle can be set as a default. So before we had this snap to angle, we used to have 45-degree angles. So I'm going to go into admin, skew items, and if you always do 45 angles or almost always do 45 angles, you can go into the skew items, calc types, and set the calculation default, the snap to angle, as 45. I'm going to save that. And if I go back, this is retail. I'll need to pull up commercial. So if it's saved, let's see, might be because this already is at 15, but you're able to set, let's make a new area. Let's see if it behaves if I do it like that. Yeah, it's still sticking with 15. And I mean, you can always edit it if you need this to be different. But yeah, in theory, that is supposed to now automatically be default to 45. So that'll just behave as you're used to. But this can be really helpful. I mean, if you have weird, I mean, you can get it down to an angle or 1 degree. I think the limit is like half a degree. But that is now a new feature of snap to angle. Similarly, we have what we call the text height, and we want to improve this a little bit. But we know that sometimes if you have a bunch of pieces on here, this font is too small. So you can go into the admin again, commercial, and we have what we call a text type multiplier. So if I want this to be a lot bigger, again, it's in admin, SKU items, calc types, and then the calculation defaults. And so we have a text type multiplier is 10 now. So if I go back into this top and, oh yeah, there you go. You can see it, it's made it a lot bigger already. And we're thinking about trying to make this, right now you can't control that text height from the area module, which we know that could be useful because you don't really necessarily want to change this text for all of my commercial jobs. And it's kind of a pain to go back and change it to 10 and come back out here. So we want to maybe make it easier to change the text type per area. One note that we saw a couple weeks ago is for somehow this had gotten set to 0 on someone's account. And so it was a little scary because all their text was gone. And, I said, oh, well, is it hidden? Do inside, outside. And so it looks like it's just gone. So if this happens to you, it's most likely because your text type multiplier is 0. So the text is there. It's just very, very small or non-existent. So that is what we call the text type multiplier. And last for today, if we go into the dashboard, I already pulled it up. Let me initialize data. So on the overview tab, and I think, let's see if it's in here as well. No, okay, so it's in the dashboard and then the overview tab. We can initialize our data. And then right now it's showing data bits just for November. So I'm going to pull that up to be, I don't know, let's look at April through August. Retrieve data. And now we have a thing called zip. I think it's zip. Customer name has been added in city. So I'm going to add city and zip. And these are pivot tables, and these can take a little getting used to. But right now, what my pivot table is showing me, it's showing me the date of certain jobs, what the job number is, and what the count and square foot and revenue. So those are here in count, square foot, and revenue. But I'm going to move my status down, and I'm going to move my values to the row level. I'm going to move my zip to the column level. And now, let's retrieve the data again. This is our demo account, so sometimes it's a little tricky to figure out how to get enough data to look. Yeah, that's a little bit better. But you can, if you have your zips at the top, and we can maybe even put the city at the top. What it does, it's going to show you your zip codes. And then if you scroll down to the bottom in this case, I can see, let's put the values back here. Yeah, this is a little bit better. You can see Let's get rid of cities. Yeah, that's a little bit easier to read. We can go to the bottom and see which zip codes are most profitable. So in this case, blank is most profitable, but hopefully this is the demo account, so you wouldn't see that. But in this case, let's see. So 10,000, if you hover over it, we can see that 63122 is doing a lot better than 63116. So essentially it just means our zip code and our city has been added to this dashboard. And that can be a little bit tricky to figure out. And we're going to maybe put some more videos about how to use these pivot tables a little bit easier. But if you have questions, obviously you know how to contact us. So that is it for today's webinar. And I think you can now see me. I will be posting this video also, so you can go back and rewatch it, and then we'll be doing these in the future as well. So let me know if there are any questions. I'll stay on for a little bit, but thank you all for being here. We talked about doing this webinar at the conference, and you all seemed to think it was a favorable idea. So thanks for being here, and we'll continue to do this in the future.